Welcome back to the deep dive. So, if you're involved in transportation or energy, you know the feeling. You are just constantly bombarded with claims, miracle additives, new efficiency
Oh, the noise
breakthroughs.
is constant.
It is. And, skepticism is pretty much mandatory at this point.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why we're here today. Our whole mission is to cut through all that technical noise and just do a really deep dive on one specific documented technology.
Right.
We're going to analyze the history, the actual mechanics, and the performance of Omstar DX1 fuel lubricants. You might have known them as D1280X.
And we've got a serious stack of sources for this. I mean, we've got everything from the original U.S. patent docs to these super technical reports from the California Air Resources Board.
And real-world customer results,
Yeah.
multi-million-mile results.
Exactly. And we're not talking about some product that launched last year. This is a technology with roots that go back, what, over half a century? So to really get it, I think we have to start with the pioneer behind it all.
We do. And the longevity here is just, it's remarkable. The company started business way back in 1986. They were called Omstar D1280X Inc. then.
Okay.
And the sources are clear. These lubricants have been blended in the exact same Los Angeles facility since 1989. This is not a flash in the pan.
No, it's been around. But the real story, the science, it starts even earlier with the chemist at the heart of it all, Dr. Morton Feynman. This was his life's work.
It absolutely was. And Dr. Feynman wasn't, some hobbyist. He was a highly respected synthetic ester fuel chemist. His expertise was built over decades.
Decades.
I mean, we found a research paper he published on the chemistry of synthetic esters all the way back in 1957.
1957. Wow. So that's foundational research laid down long before anyone was even thinking about modern emissions or the energy crisis. He spent 30 years building up this knowledge.
Exactly. And then around 1988, he had what he called a sudden insight.
Yeah.
He figured out how to combine both low and high molecular weight synthetic esters into one stable, really effective fuel additive.
And that wasn't just like a recipe. This was a unique, patentable mechanism he'd discovered.
Precisely. And that insight led to the key document we keep coming back to. U.S. Patent 4,920,691. It was issued to him in May 1990 for D1280X, which we now know as DX1.
So that patent is basically the blueprint.
It's the blueprint for the entire dual-action system we're about to unpack.
Okay, let's do it. Let's unpack it. The product is made of short and long-chain synthetic esters. Now, to a non-chemist, an ester just sounds like something for lubrication. But how do these specific molecules do so much? How do they clean, lubricate, and improve combustion all at the same time? What's the magic here?
Well, it really is a comprehensive system. It works by tackling two different problems at the same time. Let's start with the low molecular weight esters.
Okay.
Think of these as the engine's cleaning crew. They're amazing solvents.
So they're literally scrubbing the system from the inside.
They are. Their job is to keep everything spotless. We're talking injectors, valves, fuel lines. They just dissolve and get rid of all that carbon and varnish that builds up.
Which means your fuel spray stays perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the crucial part where a lot of cleaners fail. These esters do all that cleaning without hurting the fuel's lubricity. They don't strip away protection.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Now, the long-chain esters, this is where the protection, the engine life extension stuff really comes from, right?
This is where it gets really interesting. And it's what's unique to Feynman's patent. These high molecular weight esters are designed to partially survive the insane heat of combustion.
They don't just burn away instantly.
Nope. They act as a synthetic overhead lubricant, protecting the harshest part of the engine, the upper cylinder.
So what happens when these molecules survive and they hit the metal walls of the cylinder?
They do more than just sit there. They actually cause a chemical reaction. They interact with the iron in the cylinder walls, the piston rings, and they contribute something called an acid moiety.
Okay, acid moiety, don't let that scare you. What does that mean?
Think of it like a chemical anchor.
Okay.
And that anchor lets it form something called a chemisorbed iron soap.
Chemisorbed iron soap. Okay, that sounds super technical, but let's break that down. Chemisorption versus, what's the other one? Physisorption. Why does that matter so much?
It's the difference between something sticking and something bonding. Physisorption is weak. It's like static cling.
Right.
Chemisorption, what's happening here, means that iron soap layer forms a real, actual chemical bond with the metal surface. It becomes part of the metal. It's not just a film of oil sitting on top.
So because it's chemically bonded, that layer is way tougher. It can stand up to heat and pressure. So even if the main oil film breaks down, the engine still has this molecular shield in place.
You got it. And this protective shield works specifically in what's called the boundary friction region.
which is where metal-on-metal contact happens.
Exactly. It's where all the wear and tear, the heat, the vibration comes from. The patent even calls this a great improvement over conventional mineral oil-based overhead lubrication. This is why DX1 is credited with making engines last so much longer.
And it's not just protecting the hardware. The sources say the esters actually optimize the fuel itself. Better spray pattern, yes, but they also boost the cetane number.
By up to 5%. Yeah, a higher cetane number just means the fuel ignites faster and burns more completely. It's the definition of efficiency.
Cleaner burn, less waste, less smoke.
Right, so the formula is improving the engine's health while it's also boosting the fuel quality. And that 1-2 punch is what gives you these incredible long-term results in the field.
Okay, let's pivot from the chemistry to that cold, hard data, because you need the proof points. And we have a perfect example, the LAX shuttle bus test. You can't get a tougher test than 4 million miles of stop-and-go city traffic.
No, you can't. And this test was so well documented, it ran from 88 to 92. They took 10 buses that were known as heavy smokers and just ran them.
And when you manage a fleet like that, you're looking at two things, emissions and maintenance costs.
Exactly. Let's start with emissions, the stuff you can see.
The black smoke.
The environmental impact was just staggering. After just 1 year of using DX1, the smoke opacity, that visible black exhaust, it was reduced by 87.3%.
87%.
It dropped to about 6.6% opacity. And the sources note that anything below 6% is basically invisible to the naked eye. They also saw hydrocarbon emissions drop by up to 87%.
That is a massive win for air quality around an airport. But for the operator, the long-term money, the maintenance data, what did that show about engine life?
This is where you see that chemisorb layer paying off. For those LA airport buses, using DX1 extended the time they could go between major engine overhauls. They went from doing an overhaul every 300,000 miles to every 400,000 miles.
Wait, hold on. A 33% longer engine life. Let's just pause on that. An engine overhaul is a huge capital expense. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars plus downtime.
Huge.
Pushing that off by another 100,000 miles, you're keeping assets working longer and avoiding massive costs.
You are fundamentally shifting the expense curve. It shows that friction reduction isn't just a theory. It's physically protecting components in a way that pays you back over years and years.
And it's not just for trucks and buses. Let's look at power generation, the Agnico Eagle Gold Mines case study.
Yeah, this was a critical test of pure efficiency. They tested it on huge 1.3 megawatt generators from 2014 to 2015. And when you're running a mine 2047, fuel is your #1 cost.
So what happened?
By using DX1, they recorded an average 10.7% increase in efficiency, more kilowatt output for every liter of fuel.
And that has to hit the bottom line hard.
Oh, it did. That efficiency gain translated directly into a 9.6% fuel cost drop for the generators they tested. At that scale, nearly 10% cut in your biggest operating expense is a total game changer.
Potentially millions a year.
Millions. And emissions didn't just stay the same, they got way better. Independent testing showed a massive 79.4% reduction in sulfur dioxide, SO2, and an 11.7% drop in NOx.
So higher power, lower cost, and cleaner air, all at once.
It's the whole package.
And just to be clear for everyone listening, this isn't just customer data. This stuff was backed up by independent labs way back when, right?
Oh yeah, the validation is longstanding. The California Air Resources Board, CARB, they revalidated data in 2004 from a test way back in 1990.
And what did that original test show?
It showed hydrocarbon emissions were cut by 50% and fuel economy improved by 4.1%. That's government-level confirmation.
What about Saybolt Labs? They were even earlier in the late 80s.
Right. Saybolt tested it back in 1988. They confirmed the cetane boost 2 full points. But what really blew them away was the residue. They measured the product as 99.999976% ashless.
So basically zero residue.
Infinitesimal. Their report literally said they had never seen anything like this.
And that level of cleanliness leads us right into our last section,
Right.
Safety. Because when you hear fuel additive, you immediately worry about hazardous chemicals.
And it's a fair concern. But the composition here is everything. DX1 is made of only hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen atoms. Just the basic building blocks.
Nothing harsh or dangerous.
Nothing. Because of that, its safety profile is incredibly clean. The US EPA certifies it as non-hazardous. The Department of Transportation shipping classification is 65, non-hazardous.
So it's not some harsh solvent. It's an engineered ester that cleans and protects without posing handling risks.
Exactly. And for the environment, that clean composition leads to 2 huge points. First, since it's virtually ashless, that 99.99% figure, it leaves no residue to clog up things like particulate filters.
Okay.
And second, And this is crucial. The product is officially classified as biodegradable. It's high-tech performance that doesn't rely on harsh, persistent chemicals.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. We started with Dr. Feynman's patent from 1990, which was built on decades of research. We detailed the whole mechanism, the cleaning, the better combustion, and that amazing chemically bonded layer from chemisorption.
Mhm.
And then we backed it all up with real-world data showing huge cuts to emissions and engines lasting significantly longer, from LA buses to giant mine generators.
When you put all this source material together, what really stands out is the scale of the long-term benefit. This isn't just about saving a few bucks on fuel.
No, it's bigger.
When you see validated data that this kind of lubrication tech can reliably make heavy diesel engines last 25% longer, or even more, that forces you to rethink how we manage our entire transportation infrastructure.
Absolutely. If engines run 25% longer, you're cutting way down on demand for raw materials, you're reducing manufacturing waste, and you're changing the entire capital expense cycle for every fleet on the planet.
Which leaves a really important provocative question for you to mull over. If advanced synthetic ester lubrication like this became standard and engine life across the board, trucks, ships, generators just universally jumped by a quarter, how would that massive drop in manufacturing and replacement needs reshape our global supply chains and our whole idea of economic sustainability? The technology is here. The implications are staggering.
A compelling thought to end on. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.